contents, and I wrote some of the subtopics. Earthquakes and volcanoes come from inside the earth. Earthquakes happen when the Earth's crust shifts. Volcanoes happen, and I didn't know how. And then I noticed there's a whole bunch of stuff here where they're talking about there's history. So I noticed another subtopic had to do with history. So I wrote historic earthquakes and eruptions have caused great damage. And then another thing I noticed is they were talking about over here how to brace yourself. And I'm like, well, it looks like one of the things, and once again, I'm not reading, I'm just reading the table of contents. It's important to be prepared for natural disasters. All right, so let me continue on. Okay, so one thing that's true about volcanoes and earthquakes is that they're happening inside of the planet Earth. Okay, keep going.
Earthquake.
I don't need that vocabulary word. Come on, let's turn the page. There we go. So this says about when the Earth cracks up. So it talks about what is a volcano, what is an earthquake. And one thing I noticed, and just by looking at this, just previewing the headers and the pictures, is that the volcano seems to be coming from the center of the earth and the earthquake is on the surface of the earth. So I wrote in my notes that earthquakes happen on the outer surface and volcanoes come from the center of the earth. Now, notice I'm not reading. I'm just looking at the headers and the pictures. Now I'm going to go to the next one. Oh, look at that. There is the earth. And this is what I was just noticed, that volcanoes come from the center of the earth and earthquakes are on the top. But you also notice here, I noticed some vocabulary words. In these little kid books, the vocabulary words are usually in bold. So right away, I'm like, okay, these are some vocabulary words I have to collect. Crust, mantle, outer core, inner core. So I plop those down in here in my research notes. And I start to define them if I can. Now, if I don't have a good definition, I just put it down. But I notice there's some words that have to do, some terminology that has to do with this topic. And then here is the whole history. This is what I saw in the table of contents. I'm not going to read about the history. I'm not going to take notes on the history yet. All I want to do is have a subtopic, which is saying that historic earthquakes and eruptions have happened. So then we go to the next one, and this is sideways, but this talks about chain reactions, and I see avalanche, tsunami, aftershocks, mud flows. I'm like, oh, so after an earthquake happens or an eruption happens, there are other natural disasters. Oh, okay. So I wrote natural disasters. After an earthquake or an eruption, other natural disasters may occur. That's all I have to do. I'm not taking notes on the details yet. Yeah, you will, but we're going to do this first. I'm looking up the word in. All right, next one. Oh, look at this. So this is a little bit more about tectonic plates, which are happening on the surface. So I wrote that in my vocabulary words. I put down tectonic plates. Now I haven't gone into really a good definition of that yet, but I just know that's going to be a really key term. And then it starts to talk about volcanoes, volcano power. Oh, well, here, there's some vocabulary I might want to write down, okay? Also, there's one thing I'm noticing here is just by looking at this, there are 4 different types of volcanoes. So I go into my notes and I would write as a subtopic, there are 4 types of volcanoes. Now, I'm not writing down all the different types or any of that business, right? I do need an E in that. I'm going to come back to it. I'm not interested in facts and details right now. I just want to know with earthquakes and volcanoes, what are the main ideas? What are the files? If I was to write a book, what are the files that I would put information in? And I had a bunch of file folders. Well, one of my file folders might be types of volcanoes. And I'll worry about what goes in that folder later. I hope this is making more sense. And then this is more about how it's coming from underneath. So I can see that this isn't necessarily a new subtopic. Then I've got a whole bunch of facts about volcanoes. Well, I'm not going to worry about that. It looks to me like these are the after effects of volcanoes. So I'm going to kind of skip over that. Oh, here's something that's new. Volcanoes have there are good things about volcanoes. So there's some benefits to volcanoes. So I'm going to stop there, but I hope that gives you a sense of what you need to do as you are going through the books on Epic. Okay, I really want you to go through the books on Epic. I know they're ridiculously easy. I know you've looked at them before, but you have to read them with a little bit more a different lens. Authors, when they write books for children, have to think about what information are they going to provide, and how are they going to get just to the simple facts so that the kids can see that. So they're really good for that purpose. All right, hold on. You guys are great. I'm almost done. So this is some of the things that I noticed last night when I looked at your notes. One, some of the notes were really, they didn't have enough information and they weren't complete sentences. If you remember when we wrote theme statements, we had to write a complete sentence. When we write central ideas, we try to put it into a complete sentence. When we write about main ideas, we write it in a complete sentence. This is a great start, but you want to try to be more precise and write in a complete sentence. And use your own words. You don't want to just grab the headers and copy them and put them into your notes that the author used. You want to put them into your own words. So another thing that I noticed is that people were just taking notes on every single detail. And that's not necessary. You're going to need those details later, but all we're doing right now is previewing the readings and trying to figure out what the central main subtopics, however you want to say. So if you have a bunch of notes like that, what you might want to do is put them into bullet points and then look at all of those central ideas you have. Even I would need to do that with the notes I took today. Sometimes you've written down central ideas that actually are talking about the same topic. So if you look at here, how in this blue, it says President Franklin Roosevelt issued an executive order. And then up above, it talks about executive order. So I might want to take those two bullet points and rewrite them as one. And then there's yellow here. It says life in camps, life in camps, life in camps. Well, I might want to take all of those. They're talking about the same subtopic. I might want to revise that and put that into one sentence to make it more concise. So for example, it might end up looking something like this after I go back and revise. So this is what you want to work on. This is what's new about the assignment. After you have a bunch of subtopics or central ideas sentences in your notes, go back and read them. Or do any of them belong together? Revise your statements so that they encompass more. So you have fewer subtopics, but they hold other topics inside of them. I hope that makes sense. All right, so good. I'm done talking here. Let me see what comments we have, what questions. How do I get to the reading log? The reading log was posted the other day. The reading log, what you do with the reading log is if you read on Epic, just say Epic reading and for how long.